Energy. It turns lights on, makes water hot, powers cars, and nations go to war over it. It also keeps you moving. First, let's walk back in time. Around 2000, the nation had only about 10 years worth of natural gas left domestically. But with advancements in hydraulic fracturing or fracking, we are living in a natural gas energy boom.
Experts are anticipating energy independence in the United States within 20 years.
Pennsylvania's shale gas is now world famous. The gas pouring out of well pads is selling before it can even move to the marketplace, which means gas companies need more pipelines to move the stuff, including right here in the Susquehanna Valley. The Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline expansion, 178 miles of new pipeline from northeast PA all the way down here in southern Lancaster County. It'll completely cross Lebanon County, most of Lancaster County. It will move 1.7 million decatherms of natural gas every day. What's a decatherm? No idea, but Williams says it's enough to power 7 million U.S. homes every day.
The problem with the quandary we face is we have all these sources of energy now that will last well over 100 years, but we don't have the infrastructure necessary to move it.
Now, we can't walk 178 miles, so what we're hiking is the Rock Springs expansion line. It's at about an 11 miles proposed pipeline that would run across southern Lancaster County and end at a natural gas power plant just across the state line. 11 miles, we can do that. We're taking this trip on foot to see and feel the real impact these pipelines would have and meet the people who would have to give up the most if the pipeline is built.
That's like the worst new neighbor I could ever have.
People like the Clatterbuck family in Mardick Township.
We're not like activists by nature, but we realized really early on that like this chose us. Like we will do what it takes.
And what they have invested in this land cannot be measured in dollars.
All the stones in the background we picked out of the creek, and my father did all the masonry work. Like we built this growing up, the whole house.
The shoes look especially good with that dress, honey.
The proposed Williams pipeline could run right through their backyard.
We found pink ribbons through the woods, and we're like, that must be what it is.
Now they're leading efforts opposing the pipeline, hoping to force Williams out of Lancaster County.
I mean, I don't want to be stereotyped as a tree hugger. I'm not. I've never been an activist before. I just really feel like it is the land that gives us life, and I appreciate it, and there are some places that need to stay sacred.
Only about a mile in, and the path is already heating up. They are signs of the times as we walk through southern Lancaster County. We found this sign in front of Larry Sinclair's Mardick Township home.
I'm born and raised here, and this right down the corner here is Fishing Creek, a cold waters trout fishery, and I moved as close as I could get because that's the wildest place for 100 miles.
And many people here don't like the idea of a 50-foot wide path through their woods, such as the one you see in this example of a finished natural gas pipeline path.
Is it really going to benefit anybody in Lancaster County? And they have a lot of different plans, backup plans. They move it here, move it there, and it's wherever they can go with the least complaints, is what it seems like to me.
Once the project is complete and all the earth is back on top that completed pipe, it becomes more like a friendly neighbor because it's only buried about 36 inches below your feet. So there's only about 3 feet from you to all that natural gas.
Even before we lived in the country, we didn't have TV.
That doesn't sit well with Mark and Melinda Clatterbuck.
This is land that has been farmed within families generation after generation after generation. And for us, it is irreplaceable.
The Clatterbucks see the pipelines as an unfair burden on the people who just happen to be living in the pipeline's path.
This gas does not benefit our township or our county or our state at all in terms of the, what's going to be flowing through these pipes.
The Williams Company examined multiple routes before deciding the current path was the best possible option.
If we can't avoid a certain area, then we'd minimize the impact to that area as much as possible using best management practices. And if we can't minimize, then we mitigate or compensate.
It's in the Constitution, Fifth Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Part of it says, "Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." It's been interpreted many different ways since our founding fathers agreed on that statement, and now landowners here in the Susquehanna Valley are just beginning to figure out what it means to them.
We basically compensate based on acre, and what we do is we look at a number of factors, through the valuation process, the fair market value process, come up with a baseline of what the property's worth is, and then start negotiations from there.
For most landowners, it's a one-time payment. For farmers, they're paid over 3 years for any loss of production, and they can continue to farm the land the same way they have for generations.
We want to focus on establishing positive relationships with these folks because we're going to be in an agreement with them for decades.
Back at the Clatterbucks,
Out in the middle of nowhere.
their woods are not up for negotiation.
If he had offered us $10 million to cut down that 1.5 acres of woods, flat out would have just kicked him out of the house. Like there's no decision to be made. It's not about money.
Halfway through our hike, still a few bumps in the road for everyone involved. This hike is full of farms fit for a painting. But now farmers used to bountiful harvests are preparing for something very different going into their ground.
It started with some letters that came to us, and it's just been going back and forth. They ended up visiting us. They've been staking out the property to find out what the best route would be.
The 42-inch pipeline would run 5 feet deep for acres underneath Graybill's dairy farm.
Really, we need the energy. We need to have some way of getting more electric generated. If this is the way it's going to have to be done, then so be it.
Even though we don't see any fracking sites on our walk, Lancaster County doesn't have any, natural gas money has reached our communities. Act 13 established impact fees on gas drilling companies, and Lancaster County has received $500,000 every year for things like conservation district funding and farmland preservation.
For a lot of people, the thought of losing a beautiful Lancaster County farm to a housing development or a strip mall makes their stomach turn. So how about this? Put a pipeline underneath it, can't build anything on that land, all but ensuring beautiful preserved farmland forever.
The Williams Company is not new to this area. They operate multiple gas lines in this part of Lancaster County, and 2 other natural gas lines that run from Texas to New York pass right through this county.
We've been operating safely and efficiently in Lancaster County for decades. And these pipelines tend to be so obscure after they're in place and operating for 50 years, for example, that people often don't even realize that they're there.
Coal made our state's hills famous, but as federal clean energy standards push coal to the brink of extinction, our new energy crop of natural gas becomes even more important to powering our nation.
Chances are, when you flick on your light switch, it's coming from a power plant that is producing energy by natural gas. And if it isn't, it's gonna be. And to keep your electric bill costs down, this infrastructure is critical. Residents of Southeast PA that are UGI customers have already been benefiting by natural gas coming from other parts of the country. Now it's our turn to step up to the plate and provide this same cheap, economically abundant resource to other parts of the country so they can benefit.
And in today's world, for a lot of people, there is something reassuring about knowing our land produces our energy.
We can continue to be energy starved or energy challenged, relying on foreign sources of oil, or we can tap into these domestic sources and step towards energy independence.
Nearly perfect farmland, potentially growing Pennsylvania's most wanted resource.
This hill's no joke.
Take your own walk in southern Lancaster County, and you'll find a Williams Company pipeline that's been moving gas through here for more than 60 years. However, it is not 42 inches in diameter or carrying gas at a pressure around 1,500 pounds per square inch like the one Williams is proposing now.
So many of us could be so just fundamentally opposed to this, and that it might not matter at all.
About 9 miles in, met a lot of people, seen a lot of places, pretty tired. The people out here are united. They don't want to see really anything happen to their land. But no matter how much noise they make, no matter how many letters they write, if the federal government says this pipeline needs to be built, it's going to be built.
Every single one of the property owners we've talked to has been opposed to this, and strongly opposed, and what can I do to stop this opposed? And yet, in the end, it might not matter if FERC approves the project. You know, that overrides everything.
FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, a 4-member panel all appointed by the president, who has the only say in energy projects. Any decision by any level of government can be overruled by these 4 people.
You talk to your senators, U.S. senators, U.S. representatives, state representatives, and everyone just says, this is out of our hands. This is a FERC thing. Nothing we can do.
FERC checks the project for safety standards and environmental impact, among other things, before ultimately approving, denying, or requiring changes to projects. If our pipeline is approved, Williams will finalize compensation plans with landowners and break ground in 2016.
It's how we've been moving energy safely and efficiently in this country for decades. It's significantly safer, 37 times safer than doing it by rail. Much more safer even than doing it by truck. It is the way that we have to satisfy and move our energy and be able to tap these enormous resources that we are blessed with.
11.5 miles later, we made it to Maryland. We've seen with our own eyes the potential impact of pipelines in this part of the county. But 65% of U.S. homes are now running at least partially on natural gas, and that number is only going up. Pennsylvania has a lot of natural gas, and the rest of the country is starting to really want it. So the question is, what are we going to have to sacrifice in order to give this gas to the rest of the country? Back in Pennsylvania, Mike Straub, News 8.